Lifers, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the 1010 podcast, where we're talking about life, all things pertaining to life. We know that Jesus came to bring us life, and that is the abundant life that we live in. Just having that personal relationship with him, it's where it's at. I know you're gonna love today's episode. It's actually Sam and Jazlyn back. They were in season 1, and we had so much good responses from all of you listeners who just loved the things they had to say and the things we talked about. So we're here to do it again.
Part 2.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get started. Awesome. I have so been looking forward to this podcast. I mean, you know, no shade on all my other friends and guests I've had, but it's so fun to have my daughter Jazlyn and my good friend Sam with all of your guys' wisdom and your godliness. Like, you know, we're not perfect, but I think you guys are such great examples of what it looks like to be a woman in this time, right? It's crazy. There's so much that we have thrown at us as women, right? Obviously, we want to be godly. We want to do what Jesus taught us to do and what the Bible teaches us. But there's also so much pressure in our culture about what it means to be a woman. And so we're bringing godly women back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's bring godliness back.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back. And I think there's a lot of peer pressure, but peer pressure doesn't always have to be negative, right?
Yeah.
And so what we want this episode to be that positive peer pressure of like helping encourage people who are watching to maybe just do things a little bit differently, or be encouraged that you're not alone. Maybe hopefully you'll feel refreshed, like, okay, that's how I feel, you know. And it's good to know that there's other people who are in it with us, because sometimes we feel alone, right? So we're just going to dive in. We did ask questions on social media, or we actually asked you to ask us questions about things that you wanted to hear about, pertaining to health or marriage, dating, you know, those kinds of things. So we got a couple, and so we're going to talk about that, and we'll be referencing our social media as we go in case they come in while we're here. But let's just get started talking about maybe like health, beauty, all that stuff. So the first question that somebody asked was about the use of Botox. So it was a Christian woman. I know, right? We're just going to dive right in. And we are going to try to speak in grace-filled words, because we're all on a journey.
Yeah.
And so wherever you're at, we don't want you to feel like guilt or shame or anything like that about, you know, things you've done or whatever. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we all have done things that we regret. And God is a God of second chances. So it's okay. There's no condemnation here. But we don't want to just give like our opinions, although we will share our personal viewpoints and opinions, but hopefully they're informed by our relationship with the Lord and, you know, what the Bible says. And I don't think the Bible talks about specifically Botox, but
I wish it did. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Like sometimes it would be nice if God would
guidelines.
just say, yes,
today thing.
Tattoos, God, what do you think? Really? Just yes or no.
Is coloring your hair bad? Is it vanity?
Mascara.
Is makeup?
Mascara.
Like, are these things bad? It was funny because I never braid my hair, but like the other day, actually, when we met Riley's mom and dad for dinner, I like braided the top of my hair. And then I was reading the scripture, and it was like, you know, that one verse, I can't remember where it's at, maybe probably Timothy or something, where it's like, don't braid your hair. And like, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I just jewelry and braiding your hair.
Yeah. And somebody was just speaking on that. I think it was like,
what is that?
Maybe a podcast or something. And she was like, I was so glad to know that it was not talking about necessarily actually braiding your hair and wearing jewelry. It was about like being like showing off and like, oh, look at all these things I have. And like fancy. Your motive. Yeah. So like a braid isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's
and
not.
You have like gold lined through it. I don't know.
I mean, no. And taking care of yourself is good.
Yeah.
Like hygiene, right? Looking beautiful.
Right.
Yes.
That's all like good and healthy. But I think it comes down to your heart. Where is your motive? What's my motive in the way that I dress? What's my motive in the way that I, do my makeup or, even take care of my body, like working out, like what is my motive, right? Because all these things can be good, but if our motive is not good, it doesn't lead us into healthy places. And I know I took this long hiatus off social media, and when I opened my podcast, I opened up all my social medias, and it's like there's so much thrown. I'm sure for guys it's totally different type of pressure, but I know for women it's like all exercise. Like all these women are exercising and they're literally like no body fat. And like that's the image that's put in front of you, like, wow, I'm living my best life. I have like no body fat and I am so happy. It's like, okay, I have body fat. So,
and all you ate were 2 carrots and a cucumber and tuna.
Right? Like, what do you do with that?
I don't know.
It's just like, I feel like it's like, and at first you're like, oh, I don't want to be like that. But then like, it's crazy how those ads like keep coming, and they really do what they're intended to do. They're causing you to think, well, maybe I should get that, exercise program, or that maybe I should, whatever it is, that pill, that they're taking to look that way. Cause you begin to feel like, is that what beauty is? Is that what, is attractive, or blah, blah, blah. And then this last week I was at the doctor, just doing like, well, for my back, I have to go see a specialist, but I had to go first see my primary. So I hadn't been in a while. And so I had to do like blood draw and all this stuff, and found out my cholesterol's high and my blood pressure's high. So I'm a hot mess. And so my doctor and my husband came with me because that's how much I hate going to the doctor. But my doctor looked me up and down, like, he goes, well, usually, when my patients have high blood pressure, I tell them to lose some weight. So I thought he was going to say to me, but you're clearly, I would not say that to. But he literally said to me, I mean, you're not super overweight. So now I'm like, okay. So, but it's good. I feel like it's the motivation I needed to eat healthier.
Yeah, you need to eat healthier. There is also something called a white coat syndrome, that you get high blood pressure when you go to the doctor.
Oh.
Yes. My husband was saying that. He's like, it's probably because every time I've gone into the doctor the last like couple years, it's been a little bit elevated.
Something like that to you.
Okay, but so we left that appointment and I bought
Thank you, Sam.
like a blood pressure. I know, that's why I love you, because you're like, I know this.
Actually, you're fine.
We bought a blood pressure cuff, and my blood pressure's been like slightly elevated every time I take it, like the same. Like
See, well, maybe you're nervous to take your blood pressure, and so then
stressful.
it goes up.
I'm trying to relax, and like it just
Maybe have someone do it for you when you're sleeping or something.
End of my pregnancy with Shiloh, I went to the doctor because if you're having a home birth after you have a C-section, you have to go see like a regular doctor. And she took my blood pressure, and I was so nervous the whole time I was in there, and so my blood pressure was like slightly elevated. And she's like, oh my gosh, you have preeclampsia, which is really dangerous. Bad. And I immediately was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. I've had such a healthy pregnancy. And so then I'm like, my heart is racing and everything. Yes. So I called my midwife immediately. She's like, well, come in on Monday and we'll, do all of the things to check you and see if you have this. Yeah. And so I come in there and she turns off the lights. And she just starts talking to me like so quietly, and she puts the blood pressure cuff on, and she's like, "It's so perfect." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." But it was just like, that was nice.
Yeah, my doctor didn't do that.
They like turn on the fluorescent lights. And it's like dead quiet really in there.
Well, it's funny because like I remember back in the day, you'd go to the doctor and like they had like a clipboard and they were like write things down, but now everything's on the computer.
Yeah.
So like the first like 10 minutes of the appointment, the doctor's just like, so do you have and I'm just like,
yes. Wait, what?
Just when you're done with that, we'll have a talk. But no, my doctor did a good job. He actually did all that, but then spent a lot of time with us. And so not to, again, throw shade at all the doctors.
No, it was just,
So anyways,
Botox.
Back to Botox.
Okay, I had 2 like Bible situations come to my mind. And the first one was, because I don't know if I really have like a stance on Botox, but I think I have like thoughts on it. But I was thinking that my favorite Bible character has always been Esther, And I think it's because I like secretly I'm like, I want to be her.
Right?
Like she was just a
6
normal
months of beauty treatments.
Yeah, just a normal girl. And then she got taken to 6 months of beauty treatments. Like that sounds like the life, you know?
That sounds really nice.
I really wonder what it was like, though.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they didn't have Botox in
knows?
Persia at
They
that
had like
time.
mud masks.
They had like,
Yeah.
they probably did like,
So something about like perfume, like I don't know. I'm sure you
yeah,
could
they
look at
used
what it was.
perfumes, like all the natural
Yeah.
Oils
scents and
stuff.
florals.
Yeah.
Rose.
But, and then it reminded me of Proverbs 31, verse 30. Charm is deceptive and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So I think like both of like holding
She's a
those.
keeper.
Thank you. Holding those two, like Esther was a woman of God. Like she was not just beautiful. And even though she had like all this, like she was actually chosen for that position because of her beauty, because King Xerxes noticed her and her beauty, and she like stood out. And so that's why he chose her to be one of the, eventually his wife.
Yeah.
And then she spent 6 months doing like beauty training, whatever that is. Cool, sign me up. And then she ended up doing something really like powerful for the Jewish people and saving them and her family. And so not that like charm and beauty are like bad, but I think on their own, like on its own, like it's nothing. Like it's just nothing. It's fleeting. Like you are going to age. You are going to get wrinkles. You are going to die. You are going to get gray hair. So it just is kind of like this, you're just going to keep running after it.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to reach it fully. But let's go deeper than that. And a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Like that's something worth putting in time, money, effort.
Yeah.
And so I think like just keeping, again, like check your heart. So is Botox bad? Or what was the question?
Yeah, like
As a
how do we
woman of
feel
God-
about Botox? Like,
Yeah. I think just know as a woman of God, like what actually matters and make that your priority.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that Botox is bad.
Right.
But I think if you're just like so worried about your looks every single day and that's why you're getting it and you're not investing anything into your like spiritual life, then it's not that it's bad, but it's like you're going to find that in years from now you've just been chasing after something that
Temporary
doesn't
fulfillment.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that verse where it says that physical training is of some value, but spiritual training is of utmost value. So it basically tells you like, I mean, there's some good things that can happen when you are training, but the greater value is in the spiritual disciplines of training your heart, right? Training your mind, training your body to serve the Lord and to follow him. But that's good. And I think that like charm is deceitful. So think about that. Like how could charm be deceitful?
Because you're 50 and you look 30.
Yeah, you could be tricking people.
Well, or you can go bring it back to like, I think in the Garden of Eden, if I can speak, and how the snake or the serpent was charming to Eve. And like that kind of charm, I think would be deceitful of like, I don't necessarily think that getting Botox is deceitful, but, and I guess my opinion on it is that to kind of do what you would. And I mean, do what you want to, but at the end of the day, like you said, we are all going to age and we're all going to end up in the grave.
Yeah.
And, there is a trend going around right now. Speaking of social media, we talked about it a lot last time, and it's zooming in on like natural faces and like wrinkles and no filters.
Here's what a 30-year-old woman with no Botox.
And that's actually
like.
really refreshing because even myself, I can look and I'm like, oh, well, I have like these like wrinkles on my eyes and from whatever, and it makes me not want to smile or whatever. And because then that makes me look older than other 32-year-olds. And then, so it is just a thing of what is the motive behind it? Like, why are you choosing to get the Botox?
Well, I thought you nailed it on the head about the serpent, about being deceptive.
Yeah.
Because the serpent promised what? Oh, you're gonna have like
Yeah.
wisdom,
fame and money and fortune, and obviously not for Eve.
yeah. But I mean, essentially, that like the enticement was not what was true.
Yeah.
So it's deceitful in that it's like it doesn't give you what it promises.
You're not.
So like Botox might promise you're gonna look younger and you're gonna feel more beautiful and like
You're gonna be happier.
yeah. I mean like it does like you might like be happier with the way your skin looks for a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
But honestly,
to
I
go
think
back
you'll
and get
just
more.
find something else that you don't like
Yeah.
about your body. And like you said, we're all going to end up in the grave. And it's really like, I think what the scripture is saying is it's a vain pursuit.
Yeah.
Things that, you know, that we do. Again, I don't think it's not like you're going to go to hell if you
No.
do extra measures or whatever.
No. We were talking about before this, somebody asked the question, like, I think I asked you guys, like, do you think, because Botox is a trend right now.
Yeah.
Like, every influencer is going
Really?
and, like, doing little, like, vlogs, like, come with me to get, Botox
filler.
or lip filler or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
like, people get, like, implants and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were asking, like, if social media wasn't a thing, do we think that Botox would be as popular right now? And we were like, no.
No.
Because we wouldn't have been paying close attention or even knowing that people
it's
are
like the new Mary Kay. Sorry to throw Mary Kay into this, but like the way they would sell their product is like get your friends together, share your product, use it, and that's how you sell your product. So now they're like, get your friends together, show them how Botox works, make it super easy,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
make it fun, and like the pressure of the moment of like, oh, she just did it. Oh, that looks okay. I can do it. I mean, people do that with tattoos now. Like they have their own tattoo machine or something.
Oh, really?
Yes. I just heard this, some of our pastor friends that one of their daughters was like, had a party at their house and, they just got tattoos. I was like,
I've seen that at like weddings where they have a tattoo artist come in and just do tattoos. But I'm like,
it's not
I'm gonna do that at my
appropriate.
wedding.
Okay, that's just my opinion.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not paying for that. You guys can do the sticky tattoos.
Yes,
temporary one.
Temporaries. Those are, or you could have like a henna artist or something.
ooh.
I just think it's like the permanency of it.
So what even, isn't Botox, it like paralyzes you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
No,
It goes in and it paralyzes like the
Muscle?
the nerves.
Because now people are doing Botox to prevent wrinkles. So like
Right.
girls in their
preventative
20s
Botox.
are getting preventative Botox to
Yeah.
keep your skin from creasing.
there any,
where you smile?
There's repercussions to it.
But is there any like proof that actually will change how they
I
look
guess
in 30
I don't
years?
really know.
So I've actually heard that and this is just things that I've heard from doctors that I've seen things.
Yeah.
Just opinion, I guess, is that these
Not medical advice.
this is not medical advice. Is that the women that are getting it starting when they're like 20, even early 30s, is like their faces are going to wrinkle even more when they're 60, 70 because their
Stretching
nerves
out breaking the
are
nerves down.
just shot.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to hold up anymore. So it's paralyzed for now. It's like paralyzing the
So
nerve.
basically,
and then,
you're going to look the same when you're 60 with or
Basically.
without Botox.
So-
yeah.
You're going to
So
look
that way,
60.
it doesn't matter. Like, get it if you want it. But that just seems like in a world where, like, I feel like people are becoming more health conscious of like, what
Yeah.
they're putting in their bodies,
Right.
Yeah.
with makeup, like, and food and all that. So,
But at the
like,
same
you're paralyzing
time,
yourself.
Yeah.
there's these crazy
Whatever.
things like that. Like it seems like, oh,
And it goes
really?
away. It's not permanent.
No, it's not
So you have to
permanent.
keep doing it.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody that does it like every month or something, maybe more. And then the lip fillers, I have seen a lot of people that are like, this is actually what it looks like right after you get it done. And it's really gross.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen videos of it.
Oh, really?
and a lot of women are getting it like dissolved,
Taken out.
taken out.
Well, yeah, because there's like
Because-
trends of what types of lip filler
Yeah.
or to what like.
When you
amount.
guys think of a woman who's older than you that you like really admire and that you like, oh, I hope that I can be like that. What do you think about what they look like? Or what do you think of, like, what comes to your mind when you're like, oh, this person I really admire, like look up to?
No, like I can like respect and be like, wow, that like even like my mom, for example, I think she's beautiful. She's like 50 in her 50s. And I think she's beautiful, but I don't look at her for her beauty. Of course, when people are like, you look just like your mom, then I'm like, oh, what do I look like?
Is she beautiful?
But with that, I think I just like really, it's their character more.
Totally.
So. But
Right?
I personally think older women, when they have like more wrinkles, not necessarily like, I think they're beautiful. I think
Exactly,
that
me
it's like,
too.
wow, you've lived a really good life.
Yeah.
Especially the smile
Yeah.
wrinkles.
When I first got like these lines, I was like, yes.
You've done a lot of smiling.
Yeah.
It's just, I was like, I did it. My skin's getting old. It's getting leathery. What about you? What
Yeah.
do you think of when?
I think like the way, like I'm just thinking of like a few ladies that I look up to of like different ages, and it's all about how they carry themselves. And I'm like, I really appreciate how this woman is so confident, or this lady is so like just peaceful and just kind of brings like a calmness.
Yeah.
And yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like I don't really think about like, sure, like I like people's style or like the way they like present themselves, but it's never like, oh, she has 0 wrinkles, or like she has perfect body, and so that's why I like her.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that verse, like a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Like those are the things that we actually see in people that we are chasing after, but I think we think it's physical things. We're like, how does she, like, why does she have that like joy and peace? Like, wow. But you realize has nothing to do with skin or body or clothes. It's like those character qualities.
Yeah, I think it's easy, especially with like the influencer era that we're in. Like I don't get into a ton of it, but like when you're on social media, you see a lot of it, and just the things that are like elevated are just so fleshly.
Yeah.
You know, and fleeting, you know, like age, you know, like you're not going to look 20 forever, just when you're 20, actually, maybe not even then, you know? And so I think if that's like your image of beauty, like that, you're going to be disappointed pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think putting different models before yourself, like different role models.
Yeah.
And thinking about like, who do I follow? You know, who am I constantly like checking in on, like, what are they doing? Or like what is it about their life that you are attracted to? And then like ask yourself, is that a good thing to put in front of myself to be?
Yeah.
And if it is just their beauty and they, you know, don't have a great personality, or they don't have anything else to show for, because
that's the other part.
Why do you want to be just like them?
Yeah.
What is
That's the other part of the charm is deceitful. As I was thinking, is that you can look at someone who's attractive on the outside, and you can make assumptions like, oh, they must be like a really nice person or godly, and then you get to know them, and it's like, you know, So the outside doesn't always reflect,
or there's not much going on.
But how, like, it's also very refreshing, you know, when you meet somebody that maybe you didn't notice at first because there's nothing about them that's like specifically attractive. But then the more that you've gotten to know them, you're like, wow, like you're attractive to me because of your heart, right? Like I'm drawn to just the way that you love other people, or I'm drawn to the way that you make me feel when I'm with you, or, you know, I can respect you for those things versus a physical attraction.
Yeah. I think we should like encourage people my age and like younger people to find people in real life to look up to. Because as I was thinking about it, like I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of godly women, men and women in my life that I can look up to, but like a lot of ladies who are like wonderful moms, wives, or they like some like you are great at like taking care of the home, and like Grandma Linda decorates really well, and like Grandma Becky's a great host, and all these different people like Sherry Snyder, prayer warrior, and like these women that I've grown up with that they are beautiful on the outside, but it's more like the things that I see in their lives.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, I want to be like that, or I want to like run my home like that one day. But you don't get that. You can get inspired by people online, but you're not like bonding with them. You're like bonding with your phone.
And most of those people, even that you just named, aren't even online.
Yes.
So think about the
that's
people
so true.
if you're only looking online for those role models, like you're missing out on the people who are actually living a life that you'd want to model after.
Yeah.
And two, what is the reason for going back to the whole Botox thing? Are you getting that for people in real life or online too? Because I know a lot of people want to look good for like to be an influencer or to like look good for like a picture or look good for whatever. But what is like, what is that
and they're
for?
selling
like,
a product.
Yeah.
They're usually like selling a product. That's the whole thing. Like the outfits
like,
that are online.
Use my code.
Yes, or like
affiliate link.
And they never wear it again.
Yes, or like it really.
As
like,
soon
you
as I
get it
see
in the
something
mail.
is sponsored or an ad, I'm like, I'm not paying attention to
Yes, it's not real
you because you are
You're
probably
making
getting
money.
paid a
You're
ton
profiting.
of money for it. And
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. This is what we talked our last podcast on the whole time. We love
That's
talking
right.
about social media.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's
so
kind of where the world
prevalent.
is
It
at
is.
right
No,
now.
it is. Yeah.
but
It's true.
Very true.
I think all of that plays into like your body image, right? How you feel about yourself when you're spending a lot of time watching other people or even entertaining things like, do I need Botox or blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's necessarily, it's not helpful.
yeah.
It's not helpful. So long story short, I bet you don't need Botox.
You're probably beautiful. You are beautiful because you're made in God's image.
Yeah. You're probably beautiful.
You are beautiful.
You're not super overweight.
Exactly.
Sorry.
You're a little bit.
You're gorgeous.
Yeah. But there's a lot, there's like natural things you can do that are actually healthy for your body to keep you young, to keep you healthy. But like eating well, exercising, sleeping,
Yep.
Staying
drinking
hydrated.
water,
Yeah.
putting good ingredients, all those things. Like, I think people are afraid to put in the work sometimes. And so there's a lot of like quick fixes now with, like Botox or different surgeries, like stuff like that. So there are like, I'm sure certain cases that those things are useful and like actual medical procedures to help you, whatever. Like if there's imbalances, or I've heard of people getting Botox too for like migraines.
Yeah.
To like numb a nerve kind of type of thing.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, like Sam, you're super into the natural living and like all those recipes. So follow Sam's.
No.
What's your Instagram?
I don't know. I don't post
You
on
don't
there
know?
much anymore. No, I don't know. I have 2 of them.
Yes,
Remember?
I will
the
look
newer
it up.
one.
This
messy house?
motherhood?
That's right.
This
Yes.
messy. I mean, it is.
This messy
My house is messy.
This
but
messy
motherhood.
Yes, this messy motherhood.
I love everything.
Sam's.
Yeah. And that for me is, as a mom going into the whole body image and self-image thing, I have a really hard time looking at people that look perfect and not comparing myself.
Totally.
And I know we've talked about this, but I was actually just reading, I've been reading this really good devotional called Risen Motherhood. And they were talking about how self-consciousness and stuff like that is actually like vanity and pride, because how can you look at yourself and think, I need to fix all these things about me before I can be a better person.
Totally.
And just like the reflection of how much time are you spending with God, to really like look and see how like beautiful you are aside from physical. And so that was really a lot for me, because I have struggled with that my whole life, is self-identity of what I look like on the outside. And then it's like, oh, well, just really vain.
And that can be discouraging, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what is wrong with me? Why am I like so like discouraged about the way that I look?
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I've been there too. I don't know if it's like every woman, or it just seems like we all, from time to time, if not all the time, struggle with just like, how we view ourselves and how other people view us. But I think you're right. Like the time in God's word. And I was also going to say that fasting is another, like, it's a really powerful discipline that kind of just brings us down to the core of like who we are. When you don't eat food, it's like amazing how much it clarifies the mind. And I feel like it just opens up your spirit to receive truth from the Lord that you're just too busy or too full to think about otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how the closer you get to the Lord, it's almost like the more you fast and the more like you discipline yourself, the more you realize you need it. And you're like, whoa, I really need God.
Yeah.
Because I am messed up.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how your thoughts can just spiral into the most unhealthy ways so quickly. And it humbles us. Like, as Christians, we're like, God, like, forgive me that I think so poorly of myself or of others, or can be so carnal, that I'm even like chasing after things that can make me look better for other people. Like, that's
And
so...
then you don't check your heart and
Yeah.
see. Yeah. I was listening to, I think it was Stephanie Gretzinger. I don't know how to say. She was talking on a podcast the other day. I've been diving in about daily bread and how she was like, in other countries and back in biblical times, bread only lasted a day.
Yeah.
And it only does. In America, we have so many preservatives. And I think that's such like a huge, I think biblical stance too.
Totally.
We preserve so much and like, okay, I'm just going to like hold on to Sunday's message for the whole week and not need to go any further in my relationship with Christ. And she's like, but it is the daily bread of, okay, God, I'm coming to you. And that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Even if it comes like for me at the end of the day after my kids are asleep and I'm, having to stay up later. And that's really hard for me because I'm like exhausted and I don't want to do anything. But that was so eye-opening because when she was speaking about it, it is, you think, okay, well, I dabble in reading my Bible once in a while, or that was such a great message on Sunday and I'm just going to like
think about
carry that through the week. And then it doesn't. And your character really relies on like staying firm in your relationship with Jesus.
Yeah, totally.
And that can give you a completely different perspective on yourself and the whole world. And then that kind of just is like such a mindset shift too.
Yeah.
So
that's so good. I love that daily bread idea is something God's really been speaking to me too about in terms of like, not thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Like today, God has, given me the grace for today. I don't need to worry about tomorrow or next month or next year. And I've been reading, I think it's 1 Corinthians 4, not 2 Corinthians 4. But it's the one where like we're pressed but not crushed, persecuted,
And not abandoned.
But then it also says to fix your eyes on, not on the things that are seen, because the things that are seen are temporal. To fix my gaze on the things that are unseen. So I've been asking God, like, okay, God, what is unseen? Like, how do you fix your gaze on the unseen?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see it. So, but I think it's just obviously heaven, eternal life, God, right? Basically fix your eyes on God, on the things that are unseen, because those are the things that last forever. And I think that speaks so well, even to like, should I do Botox? Should I do this other surgery? Should I invest all this in whatever? And what am I fixing my gaze on?
Yeah.
Is it for the kingdom or is it for the earth?
Is it
That is 2 Corinthians
2 Corinthians 4? Thank you, Jazz. Yeah. 2 Corinthians
8.
4. And that it's about like treasure in jars of clay. And I love it because that's how I feel. Like, I feel like a piece of clay that is just could shatter. Like I feel so vulnerable sometimes, and so like incapable of anything. I'm like, God, I can't even barely get through the day. Like, how am I going to do anything great for you? And it says that we have this great treasure in jars of clay, so that it's clear that this great power is not of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. That when it's our weakness that fully shows God's strength, because it's not about us receiving glory. It's about him receiving glory. And so what am I doing that is taking glory from God?
Yeah.
Like, why do I want to make myself look stronger or even be stronger? I'm a clay jar, fragile. And yet we carry the light of Christ. We carry this great treasure of salvation and Jesus. And so that he can receive the ultimate glory. And so when we accomplish anything good, it's like all glory to God. Like,
Yeah.
It's all God. It's not either, any of us.
I think a lot of people need to hear that. Like a lot of younger girls, just with this whole like message, that's not what you just said. Like that mindset is not popular. And kind of how we started this podcast. Like let's make what did you say?
Yeah,
Let's
like
bring back
culture.
godliness.
Oh yeah.
Or yeah. That's
bring
a huge thing. I mean, it's not the most important. Like it's not salvation really. But it's, that is the way you live your life. Like if you're just, it's almost like keeps you a immature Christian. If you're just constantly thinking about the physical things, you're not able to like fix your eyes above to like the eternal things, the things that you can't see. But yeah, that's a message that like a lot of younger people need to hear, because it's not what's being shared on Instagram, social media, or in like pop culture. Like it's all about the physical.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like I feel like Botox is a huge thing. I don't want to keep talking about that, but like
it's huge.
People
right
are
now.
afraid to look old.
Yeah.
Young girls are like girls who are like my age are like afraid. Like there's that one video that was going around.
Thought of that when I was
no, and I honestly don't either. And when I saw, there was this one specific video that was going around of this 30-year-old woman just posted a video of her face. She said, here's what a 30-year-old woman with no makeup, no Botox, no nothing. Here's what she looks like. And I was like, wow, she's beautiful. Like she has freckles. Yeah. She didn't have like wrinkles. Like, and it kind of went viral. There were hundreds of thousands of comments of girls being like, no, thank you. If that's what I look like when I'm 30, I'd rather, just like the most brutal comments. Like I'd rather just not be alive. I'd rather go inject myself with Botox and look like that. And I was like shocked. I think a lot of people saw that and like, wait, what? And
do you think those are real people? Or
yes.
Yeah. No, I think they were real people.
And but that's how much vanity has a hold on so many girls right now. And I think it's a lot of the social media. It's like looking at, they don't see a lot of people in real life except for their peers.
Yeah.
And then
who are also all doing the same thing.
Yeah. And so it's just like it's just easier to go with the flow and not.
That is crazy.
It is crazy. And it makes me think like, how can we like bring that back to our generation of like, don't bring back godliness.
Yeah.
And just like a Proverbs 31 woman, it honestly says nothing about her looks. And I know that's like, people say, oh, that's the ideal woman. That's impossible. But it's like, it's a model of things that we should achieve. But it does have things to do with her character, her work ethic, how she runs her home, how she loves her family.
Yeah.
And so obviously we can't expect people who don't know the Lord to follow that at all. That's not their standard. But it's calling out like Christian women who don't spend time thinking about the eternal, and it's all just like that culture of like comfortability and convenience and vanity. Yeah. It's just like, that's not godly. Hate to say it, but like, it's not godly at all.
The older I've gotten, like as I've developed my own wrinkles, and then I you start thinking about like, I never noticed wrinkles on other people when I was young.
No.
I only saw them. Yeah. I didn't look at my mom and like, oh my gosh, she has so many wrinkles. I mean, like I remember, like old people and you're like, wow. But also like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I never thought of it as
what
like
a life they live.
Negative.
Like, what does it all represent?
When can I do that?
Yeah.
Like when can I just be, I always like tease Jay because my grandma Florence, who's in heaven, she has had white curly hair, just like wiry white curly hair. And I see them coming up in my hair every now and then. And I'm like, I just tell Jay, like one of these mornings, you're just going to wake up and I'm going to be Grandma Florence. Like, not really, but like I'll have white curly hair and like, how do you make that look good? I mean, my grandma's beautiful, but like she just like went with it. She's always got it curled
But I think that's the beauty of aging, because you don't look like you looked when you guys got married.
Right.
And you're so beautiful.
Thanks, Sam.
Sorry. You are. And thank you. but you're growing old together. Like
Yeah.
that's, I think that
Exactly.
isn't that the goal?
Yeah.
Is that what everybody wants, is to grow
But
old
it is
together?
challenging.
I can't
It
wait to see
is.
this
And
next
not
generation
just like
of old people.
not just like our faces.
It looks so weird.
But like your body.
In
the way
your
you
mind.
feel.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh,
I'm getting old.
I feel old.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, but I think there's outside of Christian circles, there's that fear, especially among women, but I think of men too, of like, I have to keep this look of how I looked when I got married,
Yeah.
or my spouse isn't going to be attracted to me anymore, you know. And if you're not a follower of Christ and that's your reality, that's stressful.
Yeah.
Like that's terrible. But to be in a relationship where you know that your spouse loves you for who you are is like peaceful. Like that's the way it should be.
But yeah, and you shouldn't marry someone for purely like, oh, I just like the way they look.
Totally no.
That won't last
No.
very long.
Because charm is deceitful and beauty will fade.
Yeah.
Beauty fades for the woman and the man. Like
Even if you get Botox, it will fade eventually.
yeah.
Can't fix everything.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, we've been married 27 years, going on 28 this year. So it's been a long time, and we got married young. So I feel like in a lot of ways we've just been young together. And now it's like we're kind of starting to like, oh wow, you know.
You're about to be empty nesters.
Yes, are about to be empty nesters, probably going to be grandparents the next couple of years, and that's really fun, Lord willing. And
We should mention that I am now engaged. In the last episode, I was
can we
dating.
pan to Riley? Can we get a Riley shot? This is Jazlyn's fiance,
Come on, Ivan.
Riley,
Show
who is
him.
doing some camera switching. Woo, Riley!
He didn't know he was gonna get a glamour shot.
That's good. Don't stress him out, Ivan.
He switches up.
He's like, boop. Yes, that is our. So Olivia and London are engaged, and now Jazlyn and Riley are engaged, and it's fun. So we have planning 2 weddings in our house, and so that's
So
expensive.
fun.
But yeah, it is a lot of fun. You know, and it's the thing about life is that it's never exactly how you think it will be.
No.
Right. And so like a lot of times it's when reality and expectations meet that you have struggles. And I'll clarify that because I've been in like, my back's just been my nerve has been really killing me lately. And I think the biggest challenge for me right now is like, I didn't imagine this season where like, you guys are getting married and like, there's so much to do. And I've been like, it's so much pain. And it's like, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that season actually is what is drawing me closer to the Lord because it's in my weakness that his strength is made perfect. And even in like the worst situations, which is not the worst situation, it's fine. Like we're going to be fine, you know, but it's like you picture yourself. And I remember when I was like a teenager and I pictured myself 40, I had promised myself that I was going to like work out every day. And like I imagined what I would look like and what my lifestyle would be like. And I mean, it's just not very realistic. You know what I mean? Like at that time, I didn't want to have children. This is so vain because I didn't want stretch marks.
Wow.
That's, I mean, this is
And
vanity
God was
speaking.
like, you're going to have a baby pretty soon.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like the Lord was like, oh yeah, watch this stretch mark. But it's totally like, it's such, the perspective of a teenager, first of all, is so small.
Yeah.
Like you just have no ability to even realize the beauty and the blessing of family and also like being married to a husband who likes my stretch marks. Sorry, I'm gonna say it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just always imagine like that's a turn off or that's gross, but it's like to be married to a guy who's like, you're the mother of my children. It's
cool.
Yeah.
I love you. Like
Yeah.
it's great.
And maybe part that kind of plays into where our culture's at is like a lot of late girls aren't getting married as young. And so they don't have that like security and support of a good man, like love it. Because I think that does change.
Yeah.
You kind of settle a little bit into who you are the older you get. But if you're just like insecure and want to be married, but like most girls aren't getting married till later, I wonder if that like plays into a part of it.
Yeah. Yes. I think our culture is hostile to marriage. It beats up on men and women separately.
Yeah.
to where neither of them feel like they have anything to bring to the table and they don't want to, or they haven't even seen a good example in their own home. And so it's like there's so many things working against us, but marriage is God's idea.
Yeah.
So like if we submit ourselves to him and to his way, even if you didn't have a good example, or like even if you don't know how to do it, like you just say, God help, he'll help you.
Because in our weakness, he's our strength.
Exactly.
Amen. Yeah.
Like when we think we're strong, we're actually weak, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
We were talking a little bit about marriage before we started the podcast, and submitting, you know, what it means to submit to our spouses. Like, wives, submit to your husbands. And obviously that whole idea gets a bad rap.
It sounds scary
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, what, women empowerment? I don't have to submit to anybody because I'm a woman. I don't even need men. Well, I need my husband.
Yeah, me too.
Very much. I think God knows what he's doing when he puts a man and a woman together, a husband and wife. And it's not always comfortable, right, to submit. I don't think it's comfortable either way, whether, you know, because I think there's times when the husband submits to the wife as well. And in a loving marriage, like it's both. It's the wife submitting and also the husband. Like you work together. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100.
Yeah.
You're both going all the way.
Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. And then the next verse is, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word. It kind of goes on and on and on. But I feel like that's a higher calling.
To love your wife.
Than a wife submitting to her husband is
die for your wife.
Like, I think we actually kind of have it easy.
Yeah, especially if you have a good husband who you can trust and you know is going to lead you the right way. But like, what are some of those practical ways that we submit to our husbands that in real life, not just like I submit to you, but like what does that look like?
Well, because it does, like, it sounds like you're saying it's like, oh well, I don't want to rely on anyone, and I definitely had that mentality kind of going into marriage, and
like I can do this,
but I was
you can help, but
I want a godly marriage as well. And more recently I've been really focusing on not being naggy, because I think that can that can ruin a lot of things.
Totally.
And really just because I was like, I want him to change all of these things. In order for us to have a good marriage, he has to change all of these things. And God was like, no, just give him to me. Because I think that was where, like, I just remember somebody had said, and I may have mentioned this before, of before he's my husband, he's God's child.
That's good.
And God knows what he needs more than I do. And so I can look at him and be like, why is he doing that? And it can be so annoying to me, but then there's like such a greater picture.
Yeah.
And so I've just been really focusing on praying for his heart and praying for, you know, different changes in him, but also really praying for changes in myself.
That's so good.
To love him through whatever it is that I'm annoyed with or upset with, or whatever it is. Yeah. And I've seen like a huge transformation. I've never told him, I mean, he doesn't even know this, that I've been praying for these things, and he's changed drastically. And they're not huge things. They're all very small, and he's like, God has changed those things in his heart.
That's cool.
Immensely in the last,
because it's
months.
Way better if he hears it from God than us. Right?
Yeah. Like, because I could, you know, be like, you need to do this more often, or, you know,
or you can say
whatever
God.
it is, and said, I've just given it to God. And that is really hard, because I want to be in control.
Totally.
But submitting to his authority in the sense of, if we're having a conversation and he's like, oh, well, I think this probably is a better option. In my mind, I want to be like, oh, why don't you just listen to me and take my advice? And then in the long run, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. That was a better option. Whatever it is. I mean, if it's financially or anything, is letting him lead us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to look like some scary, submissive thing, because I think that word can hold a lot of fear. but just really,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes from surrendering your husband to God.
So good.
And then knowing that if he is submitting to the Lord, then he's going to do the right thing by you and your kids or
Yeah.
your family. So
That's such wisdom. And I think you learned that a lot sooner than I did. So good job.
it's been a long journey of, I mean, we've been married for almost 6 years, which is not a lot of time. But those first several years were really difficult because I wouldn't give him to God. It was, I need to know everything and, you know, be his everything, and how ungodly that is too, of like, we can't be each other's everything.
Right.
And I have to, you know, put God first, and he has to put God first, and then we come second.
Good.
So that's been,
That's really good advice. That instead of bringing, you know, your problem to your spouse, just bring it to God first,
yeah.
because God's probably going to fix it before you even have to, but or else give you the grace when you do have an opportunity to say something that you're not saying it, you know, in a way that is obnoxious.
Yeah.
So easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's taken
So
a lot
you're now
of,
egg free. Praise the Lord, right?
yeah. I was going to say neg free in 2023, but we're in 2024.
2024. Egg no more. 2024.
There we go.
Wait, nag more? 2024?
Egg no more.
No more. If you
more
need some
nag.
advice, Jazzy, I'll
Okay.
God's like, you can always nag to me. And we do. Boy, do we.
yeah.
You don't have any marriage advice yet, do you?
No.
Any?
I'm taking the marriage advice. Not from everyone, though.
No, not from everyone.
Yes,
select-
definitely be.
We've already gotten a lot of marriage advice.
Really? Free advice?
Yes.
That's
Unsolicited?
interesting.
But it's been good, though. But it's like the day after we got engaged, we were at church. We were at New Life at the worship night, and we already got like tons of advice. Just, if there's one thing I would tell you, it's this. Like, everyone has their one thing.
Yeah.
But
So
the
funny.
biggest thing has been just do pre-marriage counseling. Like,
Oh.
everyone's just been like, just do that. Like, we really recommend that.
Yeah. You're like, guys, we're
Check.
way ahead of you.
Way ahead of you.
You know all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about both of you guys just reminds me how you just love to research things. I feel like you probably already know all the questions that they would ask you in pre-marriage before
Yeah.
you even go to pre-marriage. But
It's true. I already know it all. So, you guys
love
have any
that.
marriage questions
It's
for
good,
me?
it's good to be
Sure.
curious. You know? You have that. You both have that curiosity to learn.
Yeah.
You know, and are always a good place of wisdom for various needs. And so, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, is that a wrap? Anything else
I don't-
burning in our hearts to share? I think this is a good podcast.
I think so too.
because
so
it
too.
leaves room for take 3. Let me just check one more time, make sure there weren't any more questions that came through. Nope. That's all they wanted to know. That's it.
Well, they got their answer.
Yeah. In conclusion, you're beautiful.
That's right. Say that. Everybody say that where you're at. Say, I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
Beautiful. That's right.
Yes.
You are beautiful. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. Thank you, Sam and Jazlyn, for joining me on this podcast and just sharing the things that God's doing in your heart. And I know that it's going to be a blessing to all who listen. So I'm just going to close this up in a word of prayer, and then we'll sign off. God, I just thank you again for this time that we have had to just talk. I thank you for Sam and Jazlyn and for the wisdom that you've given to them. Lord, I pray that you would use the words that we have spoken to encourage and inspire all who listen, God, that we would truly be a godly generation of women and men, God, who are pursuing you to live the life that you've called us to. And we pray it all in your mighty name. Amen. Amen. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.